Welcome to Dagnabbit, boys, folks. It's October 2nd. Cooper, so yesterday, the 1st, what'd you spend your welfare check on?
You wanted to do a funny riff up top,
Yeah.
and you're asking me what I spent my welfare check on?
Yes.
I didn't get a welfare check. I'm not on welfare. I applied for food stamps, but I didn't. I think I need to reapply with my ID. Are you on food stamps?
I've tried. I do get that, like, first of the month check, you know? Because I go spend it on dope.
That's what you spend it on.
I spend it on dope. I buy dope, and then the licks come over, you know? And I got some of the best dope in town, you know? And it's so funny. The first of the month, the lick comes over, gives you his welfare check and shit, signs the shit over. He stole that shit from his sister-in-law, you know what I mean? He got to the mailbox first. And he buys the dope, and he's sitting in your place, and he's just poking his arm, you know what I mean? He can't find a new vein, and it's so silly.
That's not funny.
It's so silly.
It's not a funny riff to start the podcast.
This isn't a riff. This is just a real thing.
Do you even still get welfare checks? I mean, I feel like don't they?
I think it's probably a direct deposit,
right? Or like,
I could probably talk to some people in my family because I don't really know how it works.
I feel like they would just like send you a card you're not allowed to use anywhere else but stores and stuff.
You mean like a birthday card? You mean like it's like, you're on welfare, and it's like a little song that plays.
Happy October 1st, you're on welfare, baby.
You're on Easy Street.
Congrats. You're taking the low road to Easy Street. What if I feel like that's what Republicans do want, because they will kind of talk about that, where it's like, I feel like they really want the check to be like, you are a leech on the system. Congratulations on your new leech check.
Yeah, it's like, when it says on the check, it's like pay for or whatever. It's just like, to be a leech.
Yeah, well, it's like how like anti-abortion people are like, I just think women should have to go to counseling before they get an abortion.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you want them to be talked shit to before they get an abortion. That's crazy. Imagine you have to get an abortion. Your shit's already fucked up. You're all sad about it. And then you got to listen to somebody be like, if you do it, you're the worst person that's ever lived. And then you're
Imagine
like,
if women have to go see Roastmaster General Jeff Ross.
They have to get roasted.
Yeah, they have to get roasted.
That's what his new special is. It's an auditorium full of women. And if they can last 5 minutes with the roast master, then they can get an abortion. But if they can't, then they have to carry the baby to term regardless of their financial or family situation.
Yes.
And the thing is, most people can't last with Jeff.
He's just too raw and twisted.
Yeah, unless you get a lady that's like Dave Attell, and then she gets an abortion and then gets to go on the Bumping Mike's tour.
Yeah. If he gets a really good roast and the woman laughs, he bumps her stomach.
It's just so crazy if, like, you're, like, poor as fuck and, like, the guy who got you pregnant doesn't give a fuck, and then just you have to go to, like...
And it's an Irish dude.
They do, and it's an Irish guy. And they do it with, like, Christians. Christians do it. They provide what they call counseling, which is really just, like, trying to shame a woman out of getting an abortion. But it's just, like all that shit's happening, and then they're just like, yeah, but what if the baby grew up and started a business? And you're like, what does that have to do with anything? Like, what does that have to do with anything that's going on right now?
They're like, all these women have small business owners in their stomachs, and they're sucking them out and killing them.
They bring in some guy named Jeremy who owns a house in Iowa, and he's like, what if I got aborted? It's like, then you wouldn't be here, Jeremy. Like, This doesn't matter. I don't know what you mean. That's not a point you can make as to why I should have a child.
Yeah.
Yep, we're pro-abortion. Get used to it, viewers.
Yeah. We're here. We're queer for abortion. Get used to it.
We're here, we're queer, we're getting abortions. People are like, why? What? What do you mean you're getting abortions?
Yeah, that'd be crazy if we just start these like gay/abortion pride rallies, and we're just getting turds removed from our ass and like squished up.
Yeah, we're going to the turd abortion clinic. Everybody outside is holding up signs calling us pieces of shit.
Yeah, yelling at us, you're gonna go to hell.
Yeah, you're going to go to hell for taking that shit out of your ass. You need to keep that shit out of your ass and turn it into diarrhea.
Also, it's also like, they tell these women they're going to go to hell, It's like, don't they want to go to hell? That's where the abortion's going. They can go hang out and see what he's up to.
Well, have your abortion. You'll meet it again in hell. It's like, this is what you believe? Holy shit.
You believe some ding-dong ass shit.
You believe some ding-dong ass shit. You think that little thing inside of me is a full-ass person and it needs to be baptized, and if it doesn't, it's going to hell? What the hell is Satan going to do with a bunch of fetuses? I don't think Satan would think they're people.
Yeah. Satan's probably down there sick of torturing fetuses.
I mean, what's the point?
He's like, I keep lighting them on fire, but they don't feel anything.
Yeah.
They're not fully developed.
No, they don't have a great nerve system. The fetus is just like,
He's just like, this is just a waste of torture.
The fetus is like, I don't even understand punishment.
Yeah.
I was in a womb. I was never alive. I don't even understand.
They think fetuses are in there, like, Googling how much it would take to, like, franchise a McDonald's.
Just a fetus in there like, so I'm as bad as Hitler? What? Was Hitler? I wonder if he was baptized, because I feel like everybody was baptized back then. I mean, I know, like, famously he was, like, an atheist or whatever, but...
Was he famously an atheist?
Famously an atheist.
That's one of the second things they say.
It's the most...
He hated Jewish people, but also he didn't believe in God.
Yeah, it's like just like Ricky Gervais. But yeah, he was an atheist. That was a part of, I think, what he believed, as far as I remember.
He would have loved The Office.
But it's also like, if he was baptized in the Catholic Church, then I think by Christian rules he goes to heaven.
You think Hitler was like an edgelord in conversation?
Yeah, I think so. I think at that time he was. But I think nobody had been an edgelord yet. So it was like...
They were just like, oh, that's just talking.
They were like, wow, this guy has a lot to say. I mean, he started because like the German Socialist Party already existed, and then they saw him in a bar. They like discovered him, and he was like popping off, and they were like, he would be a good face for the movement. So they would take him around to different beer halls, and he would literally do like 5 or 6 sets a night. And I swear to God, like, he got so much speaking time in.
He got a lot of stage time.
Legitimately was on stage a lot. And yeah, he would be at beer halls.
You did not want to be like at that table in the at beer hall putsch.
Yeah.
You know? Like it was Hitler, Patrice, Jim Norton, Robert Kelly. They would tear into you.
The beer garden table.
Yeah.
They would tear into you.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you watch, like, I watch a documentary. I don't go and look up his speeches. I should say that with my haircut. But I was watching a documentary, and it was the first documentary where I'd seen that they, like, translate his speeches and, like, subtitle them so you can, like, understand what he's actually saying. And a lot of what he's saying is just, like, pretty similar nationalist rhetoric, like the kind of stuff you hear Donald Trump say, where he's like, you're all beautiful people, and your opportunities are being stolen, so... Most of what he talked about was, like, in a positive sense of, like, we're going to do something big. Oh, God. Oh, God.
I've been smoking a lot.
I was going to say, yeah, how much have you been smoking?
Like, a pack and a half a day.
Yeah, you got to cut that out. I mean, you should switch.
That's what Pauly Shore told me.
You should try and switch back to Zins, because they're $7 again at 7-Eleven. And if you put in a Zin, you keep it in for, like, 20 minutes to an hour, as opposed to a cigarette, which you smoke in like 5 minutes and then probably smoke another after another 5,
I mean, it's more cost effective.
It's more cost effective, but also just you'll be taking in, and also just the smoking it's the smoking that's so bad for you,
Yeah.
But,
Pauly Shore he pulled me aside to just give me a whole thing about you shouldn't smoke cigarettes because it'll ruin your voice. And your voice is your career. It's like, yeah. He's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong at all. Pauly has a lot of good advice. I mean, that's the thing. You're around a guy who's worked in the entertainment industry for like a very long time, and then when you're around him, you're like, oh, I get why you've worked in this industry for a very long time.
He really likes you.
Does he?
Yeah, I could just tell.
Did he say something about me?
I could just tell by how he talks to you that he really likes you.
Well, he has not taken me out on the road since the first time he did. But
who does he take on the road?
I don't know. His dog.
He does take Buster. Are we allowed to dox Buster on the podcast?
Dude. Dude, what the fuck?
We're having to bleep Buster's name.
What if this gets back to him?
He finds out we said his dog's great.
He's got a fun little dog.
Yeah. It's a big ass dog.
He loves that dog because the one time, and once I'll reiterate, only once. I don't want to sound like I think I'm a cool guy here, but we were in the airport when I featured for him in Milwaukee, thousands of miles away from his home and his dog. But just out loud a lot, he'll just go, Buster, Buster, but he'll just say the name of his dog. And sometimes people look over and they're like, is that Pauly Shore? And is he? I remember one time, you know those carts that drive around the airport?
Yeah.
I didn't know how you get those, but he just walked up to one and was like, can we get on? And then if you're rich, you don't have to worry because you're like, I have money, so this man will be paid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we get on and then we're like really flying through the airport and he's just saying hi to everybody we pass. He's just saying hello because he does know that he's famous.
Yeah.
And it's like, it is cool to be around a guy that is just aware that they're famous.
Yeah.
So they're not like trying to act normal and then accidentally being rude. Like he's never rude to anybody really because we're just driving around the airport and he's just like, hello.
Yeah.
Like he's a king. And then I remember we passed one guy and I hear him go, is that Pauly Shore? Because it is crazy to walk around the airport and then a famous person says hi to you before you've seen them. And then they're kind of gone before you can even say hi.
Yeah. It's funny like that, like, he's so recognizably Pauly Shore.
Yeah, well, because it's like it's the aura too.
Yeah,
and he's really good at being famous. Like we were driving in that cart and we passed a chiropractor in the airport. He stopped and got an alignment. Like it's just like you're like, damn, this guy's like good at having a good life. You know what I mean? Like it's nice. It would suck if he was like, I'm just a normal guy and like. I don't want all that, because it's like, but if you just take all that,
he's never grown up like and not been around famous people. Fame's been around him his entire life.
Yeah, and I think he's like, instead of it like ruining him and then him becoming like a pottery artist with trauma, he's just like, I'll just get really good at being in this kind of wild Hollywood life, and he has.
He's just like, I'm just going to get good at being Pauly Shore.
Yeah, I'd say he's pretty successful at being a Hollywood guy. You know what I mean? And some people are not. I think some people are ruined by that, and they're like overthinking it and trying to be stuff that they can't be.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can be me. I can do this. You know what I mean? I'm not going to walk around and be like, I'm just like everybody else. Because it's like, he's had a cool life.
Yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, you were in movies I watched multiple times when I was a kid, like the extremely goofy movie.
I mean, by the time he was our age, he had already been in I think 5 blockbuster movies, you know? So that's fucking crazy. You know what I mean? Like by the time he's our age, it's just sort of like, I'm kind of set, you know what I mean? Which does feel wild of just like, you make all the money you'll kind of need to make for the rest of your life, and you also have like royalties and stuff coming, so it's like, it's like you just kind of know it's like, oh, I won't really have to like worry about money, you know what I mean? Because like I'm sure, obviously his parents had some money, but it's like I don't think he could have lived off that. So It's just like he made his own money, pretty well before like the age of even 25.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, what do you do? And it's like, keep working, because that motherfucker, I mean, we were in a coffee shop, and he was just on, 19 phone calls, setting up meetings with, production companies, trying to get this movie made. And, over the course of 3 days, he would tell me, oh, we're doing this now. Oh, they're going to give us, some money to make this. And it was, crazy.
Yeah.
And it was just a good reminder of, Jesus Christ, yeah, that's who works in this industry. It's not like some guy like me that's like, well, I'm, fucking deep. You know what I mean? It's like, no, you have to make calls and do shit and make stuff happen. That guy just makes stuff happen. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy to see a motherfucker that just makes it happen. Where you're like, oh, damn.
We need to just start making stuff happen.
We got to start making stuff happen.
What was the last thing you made happen?
Nothing. I don't think anything in comedy I've made.
Yeah, but I just mean in general.
In general?
Yeah.
I mean,
I made some shit happen.
What'd you do?
Day. Somebody was talking shit to me, and I made it happen.
You what? You beat him up or something? Oh, man. That's not good for your career.
I mean, I'm just my persona is one of just a badass outlaw bad boy, you know? So like I feel like when they find out that I beat that 8-year-old mostly to death, people are going to be like,
God. Holy shit, dude. Where was that?
Playground,
Why were you there?
smoking meth.
Oh, that's not badass.
Well, you have to keep it up.
I don't think people think that you're like a badass. I think they think you like to say wild stuff and you're like a funny guy, but generally you're like kind-hearted.
So should I just stop smoking meth at the playground and beating up small children?
Yeah, I don't think it helps comedy, to be completely honest.
But what about Kinnison?
He didn't even do that. I don't even think he did that. I don't even. I think he did cocaine around adults.
Siri, did Kinnison beat up small children?
Do you think Siri would just? First off,
not.
I don't even think you have Siri.
I don't have Siri, but I had it already pulled up.
Yeah, I think Sam Kinison mostly hung out at night with adults and did some bad stuff for sure, but definitely, I don't even think he really had much association with kids.
You don't think so? You think he wouldn't associate with kids? He's like, you guys are too young for this.
I mean, I kind of, yeah.
I think you guys aren't cool enough.
I mean, I didn't know Sam Kinison, believe it or not, but I don't know. He's like
You're paid regular.
He's like a former preacher, and he was like the king of like late night comedy. And so it's just like he didn't have any kids. I don't think a lot of his friends had kids. He's probably waking up at like, 5 p.m. every day and then staying up till 5 a.m. So it's just like, when is he even going to see kids? And I'm sure if he
Night school.
Adults go to night school. But, I just feel like...
Why?
He seems like the kind of crazy dude where if he saw a kid, he wouldn't want to be like, I feel like he would be like, get out of here or something. I don't know. But...
I remember when
he kind of took Polly under his wing. Polly was like his opener when he was like, not a kid, but like a young man.
I remember when I was like 15, there would be kids passing by my high school, and I would just like flip them off and do shit like that.
Like little kids?
Little kids, yeah.
You would flip off little kids?
I flipped up a little kid and he saw, and then he ran up to his parent.
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's a big deal if you're 8 and some kid...
They were like 6 or 7.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, the middle finger when you're 6 or 7 is like...
I literally did the Louis bit.
It's like holding a gun.
Yeah.
It is. It's like, yeah. I mean, the fuck you, the middle finger, it's like...
That was before I even saw Louis.
Yeah, it feels like you were shooting a kid where they're like, holy shit, this kid just flipped me off.
They think high schoolers are adults too, and not just like troubled kids.
Yeah, they don't get it.
Yeah, they don't
understand that your brain is like pretty much the same brain. It's just aware of gross stuff.
Yeah.
Like babysitters in general are a crazy concept.
Oh, it is crazy. Yeah, being a 15-year-old, some kids loved me though, because I would say gross, crazy things, and then they think it was so funny.
Well, yeah.
There's this kid who was friends. His mom was friends with my mom, so he'd come over, and he loved, because I would just be doing bits in the like living room when he was there, and he loved it. I remember he'd come over, and I'd be upstairs sitting on the floor, and he'd be like, Get Shane. And then I come down, I do bits for the kid for like an hour.
What kind of bits?
Just silly bits, like the sort of bits you do with Meredith's kid.
Sure.
Like,
yeah. Okay, that's nice.
Yeah, you just make the kid laugh.
Yeah, that's why I don't think people think you're a badass. I think you say wild stuff sometimes, but I think it's pretty clear you like don't want to hurt other people and you have a pretty kind heart. So
I feel like I do things sometimes, especially when I was younger, that seemed designed to hurt other people, but like I didn't want it to hurt other people. Weirdly, it's like a weird cognitive dissonance of like, it's like I want to get away with it, but it's like I don't want to hurt. Like I'll hurt somebody's feelings and I'll get really upset about it, and then I'll try anything to try to make up for it. And it's like I still just did something insane.
Yeah, like what?
Like that thing with the flipping off the kid of like I felt bad about it because I just thought it was just a ridiculous, crazy thing to do.
And then it was.
It was.
And then you realize that sometimes doing ridiculous, crazy things hurts people's feelings.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. No, I remember like when I was little, I remember like one time at flag football, I was just me and a kid were like playing before the game because we were like under 10, and I was chasing him and I couldn't catch him, and I was like, well, if I push him, he'll fall and maybe I could catch him.
Yeah.
And there's kind of no good really in that thought, but I definitely didn't think of it as a mean push,
Yeah.
like a play push. And I pushed him, he fell, and he's a bit of a nerdy-ish kid. He broke his glasses.
Oh.
And then I just remember his dad holding him in front of me so I could see him and saying, like, look at what you did. Look at what you did. And it was so, like, because I felt horrible about it already. And then he was, like, in front of me, and the kid was crying. And it was, like, this thing where he, like, wanted me to see the child's pain so I could understand what I did.
Yeah.
But I think it just ended up making me think I was, like, a bad person.
Yeah.
More than it did, which...
I mean, if you think you're a bad guy, at some point it just, like, you just keep doing stuff like that. And then you're just like, well, that's just, I guess, the sort of guy I am.
Yeah, that's a bad way to think.
Yeah.
That's not a good way to think because you're kind of a new person every day. But if you wake up and you're like, no, I'm not, then you're just sort of like, you just end up practicing the same bad things every day.
And then people think you're an asshole, and then you convince yourself in your brain, well, yeah, they just don't get me. But in reality, it's just like, you just got to stop being an asshole.
Yeah, people most of the time get you.
Yeah.
If you think nobody gets you, there's a solid chance people get you.
Yeah.
And you should probably change the way you're acting. Or at least, even if they don't get you, it's like, well, they get your actions, and your actions are upsetting to them.
Yeah.
So you should probably stop trying to defend yourself and then through that your actions.
I remember I had me and my buddy Dalton. I remember it was like the last year of high school, and Dalton just kept going up to people and asking them, like, who of our class do you think would be most likely to shoot up the place? And Dalton wanted it to be me or him, and then it was just another guy. It was like another guy who wasn't crazy like us. And then it's like, oh, people, like, kind of understood we were just assholes. Like, we weren't stewing, thinking about killing everybody. We were a bunch of rascal people, you know?
Yeah, I think that's why, like, if me and you act crazy in the comedy scene, people don't take us seriously. Because it's like, if it's that public,
yeah,
then it's, and also the way we act crazy is pretty obviously a joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you do that, then that's why it's like, if I'll go to a new job and people don't know me, they'll be like, this guy's weird.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, if you knew me, you'd realize, like, I'm pretty open about any of my problems, and they're all relatively small.
It's also, I'm sure you're the same way when you start a new job. You're so fucking, like, you don't act how you act, you know? Like, you come into the job kind of like there's a block in your brain, you know?
Yeah.
You don't act as funny as you usually. It takes a minute.
But then you act how you act in it. Like, I mean, I won't go on, but I started this new job. I'm definitely going to get fired because it's like, I don't think of myself as a crazy person because sometimes I'll act calm, but then I'll do things that are insane. Because it's like, you put on a button-up shirt and you're like, I'm not a crazy person. But then it's like, I was at this job and my coworker was like, how you doing? I was like, how the fuck do you think I'm doing?
Yeah.
And it's like, now I'm probably going to lose that job. That's insane. There's stuff like that where it's just like, obviously, once again, not to destine yourself for saying that you are one person all the time, but you're just sort of like, wow, I am, at least right now, I'm like really hot-headed. You know what I mean? Like,
well, part of it, I guess, is just like, because the job you had, I mean, you're working in the comedy store. I mean, that sort of stuff is fine.
Yeah, I had gotten too used to working in a work environment that is not a work environment. It doesn't function like a work environment. It functions just more like a club, and even if you work there, you still kind of act like you're just at the club. That being said, the other night, it's confirmed I am the Fighters comic. Multiple-time UFC championship. This is verified with a screenshot of his story on my phone, so I'm not capping. Right before I went up the other night at the Comedy Store, one of the greatest UFC fighters, arguably the greatest, I'll argue it, greatest UFC fighter of all time, Israel Adesanya, stopped. Right when he walked by me, he stopped, and he said, hey, you had a great set last night. And I was like, what? Thank you. And then I went on stage, and I had like kind of a mid-set working stuff out. he took a picture of me, put it on his story, and then after he came to the back and he hung out with the comics and was extremely nice. And then when he left, he shook my hand and only my hand.
Whoa.
And said, hey, I meant that, good shit. So just to anybody saying our podcast sucks or that I suck, I am the fighter's comic. The UFC loves my stand-up.
Yes.
And if you're talking about stand-up comedy in the UFC, you're not thinking of Joe Rogan anymore, even though he's one of the most...
You're thinking of the Seaman.
You're thinking of Cooper Lydon.
The Seaman.
That's what you're thinking of. And
Yeah.
so, I don't know, I mean... just with the other night, I'm thinking it probably won't be too long until Netflix comes a knocking.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll be a new commentator for UFC. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, you're probably not going to get a stand-up special, but they might ask you to come on the UFC.
They might ask me to come on the UFC.
Not to, like, maybe to be an announcer or maybe to be a referee.
No, I think to take Joe Rogan's spot. They're going to say, well, Israel Adesanya saw Cooper Lydon work some stuff out of the Comedy Store, so we're thinking we might have to, make the switch.
Yeah, and actually Cooper, is fine with trans people, and Joe Rogan, he's, very confused about them.
Well, I mean, the thing is, right now, Joe Rogan is, kind of the most famous comic in the world. His podcast is #1 in the world. It has 100 million subscribers.
Yeah.
But that doesn't bring a lot to the UFC. It's only 100 million subscribers. We have 22, and they're loyal.
Yeah, very loyal.
So the UFC would go, well, would we rather have 22 loyal subscribers, or would we rather have 100 million? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows how much they're...
Yeah.
Well, the important thing, though, is the trans thing, because as you guys know from the news, trans people are about to take over every sport. So they need an announcer that's going to be cool with that.
Yeah, they announced the recruits for the next NFL draft, and every single one of them is trans, and they're all 48 and above. So some people are up in arms, but to me, it's the first time ageism and transphobia have not dominated sports. So I think it's good, and I'm completely fine with it.
Yeah, me too. I think it's really cool how they actually fired every baseball player who wasn't trans, which is all of them right now. They fired all of them. They have to rehire all these trans people. And every trans person in the world just got an email asking if they can play ball.
It's so interesting how much of a non-issue the trans sport seems to really be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like the biggest thing in trans sports was just when a bunch of transphobes assumed a cis woman was trans in the Olympics.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a whole week of them being like, that lady from Turkey's trans. And then she's like, no, she had some high T, but even her T, it was tested before. And they were like, this is just a lady with high T. She's totally fine to fight another woman. This is a cis woman.
Yeah.
But it was still a whole week of that. And it's what are the other stories? It's sometimes you'll hear about college. You always hear these weird one-offs where it's I guess there was a trans woman in the Paralympics. People were mad about that. And then you'll just hear some college swim meet, and it's it just doesn't seem to be impacting the wider world of sport. But that's always the thing with trans people, is they're a very small group of people relative to everybody else on the entire planet. But then people are like, everything is changing, and it's there's literally there's not enough trans people to have this whole takeover that you're insinuating. There's truly not enough, let alone athletes, let alone world-class athletes.
It's crazy for conservatives to be mad about a trans person being in the Paralympics, when if you follow their logic, shouldn't all the trans athletes be in the Paralympics? Because they basically talk about them like they're disabled.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. What they want is for trans people to not exist. That's why any argument about what to do with trans people with the transphobe is just moot, because they're I don't want them in the bathrooms. And then you're well, what bathroom do you want them in? And it's they don't want a trans woman in the men's bathroom just because the trans woman has a penis. They'd be uncomfortable with that too. Mm-hmm. So it's you just want them to not exist, but they already do exist, which means you want them dead. Yeah. So it's and whether or not they realize that's the end of their logic. We talked about this last week, I think, but we are so woke, we just can't stop.
Yeah, this is the wokest podcast in the world.
But yeah, I don't know.
We got to cut down on the wokeness. We got to really just hone in on that conservative market. I mean, that's where all the money is. all the top three podcasts are all like conservative. Joe Rogan, it's ambiguous, but I feel like number 4, Hawk Tua Talk or whatever.
Talk Tua, that's
Talk
the
Tua.
podcast.
Somebody posted about her growing up in Middle Tennessee, and I realized like I would have like so much in common with the Hawk Tua girl.
Because of where you're from?
Well, where we're from, she just has like she's one of those people that's raised by their grandparents, which means they're fucked.
How so?
Did you hang out with kids growing up that were raised by their grandparents?
Not really that I was aware of, I guess.
Maybe that.
I mean, it's usually not a great story.
No,
guess,
it's always like their
know?
mom's a fucking drug addict who is pimped out on the streets and stuff.
Yeah.
But I knew I think I hung out with like 3 or 4 kids whose parents were parents were grandparents.
Okay.
It was never a happy story, never.
Well, of course. I mean, why would it be? It's not like I have an awesome mom and she's so busy surfing.
She's so busy fighting for our freedom.
I mean, even if your mom, that's the thing. It's like, even if your mom is like doing something, I guess that's not bad. Like, she's like in the military or has a busy job or something. It's like, it's still sad.
Maybe they have a mansion and the grandparents live there also. And like it's
That's
like
fine.
half mom, half grandma.
I mean, that's how families are supposed to be. Is your whole family's supposed to like live together,
Yeah.
so you can all raise each other, and then also like, I mean, that's what you want. Is like you kind of. That's why most people, except like whites and shit, just have their parents live with them, because it's like you give a place for your parents to live comfortably, and also they will help raise the kids, and they want to, and you don't have to pay them.
Yeah,
So like that's kind of the move.
whites are really fucking up, dude.
I mean, I don't know what to do with my parents' divorce, but when they get old, they're going to have to sleep.
They're going to have to figure it out.
They're going to have to sleep in the same bed and live in the same house.
and have sex.
And have sex. And, my mom is pretty happy with her new husband, and they have a house, and they're pretty healthy people.
So he can have another room, and he can live with his ex-wife.
Yeah. Yeah, in my house. Because I'm a good son, okay? Every marriage that's supposed to be together is back together.
Oh, you think what are we gonna do? What are you gonna do? Oh, your stepdad lives there with his ex-wife. Who's gonna? Oh, you want your dad to sleep with the ex-wife?
You're going to be married to my mom in my house? I don't think so. You're getting remarried to your ex-wife.
I am the man of this house.
I'm the man of the house.
I have got officiated, so I can perform weddings.
Are you prepared to live in a guest bedroom with your ex-wife whom you have not talked to in 20 years? Get ready, because that's your life now. You're welcome. I made it big. I made it big so we can all live happily ever after. Mom and Dad.
I am paying for your ex-wife's pill addiction.
I am.
So she is smoking pills in the guest room where you live.
And he's like, she didn't smoke pills before. I'm like, well, she do now.
I met her and I introduced her to pills. I showed her how to smoke it off the tinfoil.
Oh yeah, she do now. She do now. I'll tell you what.
My buddy, his ex-wife, told me the story about how she was buying pills with her friend, and they got the pills, and then her friend got the pills, and then he crushed it up and then pulled out tinfoil and just started smoking it in the car. Like she had no clue that he did that.
Oh. How long were they together?
My friend and his my friend and his ex-wife, or
Yeah.
I don't know if they were together for maybe, I don't know, for 5 years.
But like, she didn't know he was addicted to pills?
No. This was a different guy that she knew.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I kind of blanked.
Yeah, this was just some dude who she was probably having lots and lots of sex with. And if a woman has sex with another dude, you do have to divorce her if you find out about it.
It would probably be a good idea, I think.
Yeah,
Jeez.
if a woman's had sex with one dude, she's more likely to cheat on you.
Do people smoke pills because it hits harder and faster?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That'd be funny to every time you find out about a new drug thing, you're like, interesting.
It's just weird you can smoke pills. It just seems like the chemical composition. You shouldn't be able to smoke a pill. It's made to be swallowed, but now you're smoking it.
You can snort it, too. I remember I was going to snort some, I don't remember what it was, Valium? I think it was, and then everybody else was like, no, don't.
Well, that's good, yeah.
Everyone's like, don't do that. And I'm like, all right.
It's good you didn't snort Valium. I think you wanted everybody to tell you not to snort Valium. I don't think you wanted to snort Valium.
I thought that actually I did because I thought that would make it be better.
Make what be better?
The pills. I thought they would make me feel better. And then it didn't make me feel good at all.
Yep.
And then it made me feel so not good that I started drinking.
Well, yeah, I don't think pills actually make you feel good. It's just like
Vicodin makes you feel
you're
good.
just like so sedated. But it's not like your thoughts are really going to be better.
No, I used to write like crazy when I was taking Vicodin.
Like good stuff?
Yeah. I would just be up. It would keep me up, and then I would just fucking write for like hours. I'd be pacing. It was actually kind of sick.
How long were you on Vicodin for?
I would just take it whenever I could get it. I used to swipe
Sounds
it,
like a drug addict.
but I didn't do it that often.
Yeah, okay.
I would swipe it from
No swiper.
yeah. So this was back when I was like living with my parents. I was like 18 or 19. But I would swipe it. And my little sister had a bunch of Vicodin for her fucking the teeth thing, the teeth in the back. What's that shit called?
Yeah, wisdom teeth.
The wisdom
They
teeth.
gave her Vicodin?
Yeah,
It's pretty strong.
Well, yeah, I guess it's hydrocodone.
Oh, yeah, that's what I got given.
Yeah, that's
It
Vicodin.
didn't really do anything.
That I loved it. But I remember
I thought I would love it. I didn't have, nothing happened.
So I would just swipe her pills, and then she found out about it. And then she like threw them all down the sink, and then I got really mad, and I was basically just like, you should have sold them at school.
Yeah. You should have, you idiot.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how I just thought. It's just like, why would you get rid of these drugs when you could? I remember I had this buddy who would sell his migraine medicine and then didn't tell people it was like Oxy.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think selling fake drugs is better than selling real drugs, as long as the fake drugs don't kill people.
Yeah, no. I mean, they wouldn't. I mean, those fucking migraine medicine, it's like, it wouldn't even do anything. It was probably like those ibuprofens that are super strong, which all it does is just make you not hurt.
That was like the first time I felt high. And I can't really explain it because I don't think ibuprofen's even capable of doing that. But I remember I took like 2 or 3 ibuprofen when I was in like middle school just because something hurt. And I went to the mall with my friend Andrew, and I remember just acting very high. And then when I got high on weed later, I was like, this feels like that time I took ibuprofen.
Did you ever do the nitrous at the dentist?
Yeah, I've done that a lot at like Grateful Dead concerts.
I remember my parents would get mad because I'd always ask for the nitrous. Like, they just wouldn't be in the room, and I'd be like, hey, throw me some nitrous. And they'd see it's like a $50 charge, and they get so upset.
The dentist would just give you nitrous when you asked?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I got a lot of cavities. It was also like a very cheap dentist. It was like a cheap, shitty dentist. Like, they kept fucking up. Like, they would do these fillings, and they would keep falling out. And they did a root canal one time, and it got infected like a couple months later.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was bad. But honestly, getting the root canal ruled so hard because of the fucking nitrous.
Was it like through your nose, like a mask on your nose?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never done it like that. I've just taken it out of balloons and stuff.
Yeah, and nitrous feels, I mean, I don't know if I've ever felt anything that feels that good. Like, let's see. Oh, I was talking about the first time I got high. So, I got a bunch of Klonopin. I got a decent amount of Klonopin from, because I was sick for a year. So, they thought it might be anxiety, so they gave me Klonopin. And, I remember the last day of 8th grade, I hadn't touched any of it, and I just took the whole bottle, and I just like lied on the couch, you know, where I lied on the couch where I slept, and I just writhed around because nobody would be at my house when I got home, you know, and I was like kind of a latchkey kid for like a couple years, and yeah, so I would do that, or I would like There might be some alcohol I drink when I got home before everybody else.
You like trying to kill yourself?
No,
You take an entire bottle of Klonopin.
it wasn't that much.
Okay.
But
Was it fun?
It was. It was kind.
Okay.
It was fun. Yes.
Well, that's good. As long as you're having fun, right?
I realize these stories probably make me sound like an insane drug addict, but
Not really.
yeah.
I mean, you're doing it as a kid. It's more just like a sad, neglected kids kind of story.
I guess so.
It
Yeah.
kind of sounds like what you would do if there wasn't a parent around and you were like pissed off.
Yeah, you just want to feel good.
Yeah, you're taking Klonopin. How old are you in this scenario?
13 or 14.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, yeah.
So, yeah. So okay, so I didn't have a bed, so I slept on the couch. So that was that time. That was right before we moved.
Did you get a bed after you moved?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that was when we moved, that was the first time my parents could afford to get a house. And my theory on it, because I've heard other people say, is I think my dad got it for cheap because it was a house where there was like a notorious murder. Like a kid killed his mom with a sledgehammer. I remember when we first got there. So that my parents never mentioned it. But when we first got there, this woman down the street was like, "Oh, you guys live in the murder house."
Yeah.
But I've never like had it confirmed, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. That's why my
Jesus
dad
Christ.
could afford it.
That's a good way to get a house.
Yeah. But before that, we just like rented. Like, yeah, like renting that house in the suburbs is like the roughest time in my childhood, I think.
Even though it was a better house than the last one.
Yeah. Well, we got like kicked out of the one before.
Why'd you get kicked out?
I think my parents just couldn't afford it anymore. Like they couldn't afford to live there.
Damn.
And like that, the house we rented was like it was kind of big. It was like the biggest place I think I've ever lived, but it was like I think it was like pretty cheap. It was probably like 1,800 or something for like that was back when it was like kind of cheaper to get places. And then we destroyed it. Like the house ended up destroyed, so my parents got sued.
How was it destroyed?
Just it was disgusting in there. The bathroom was destroyed. Like there was bugs and like rodents all over the place. Like there was parts of the carpet you couldn't walk on because there were just so many bugs.
What does that mean?
Like literally, if you walked on there, the ants would just start crawling up your leg and shit.
Where were the what?
There was like an insane amount of ants because, like, so there's a couple big medium-sized holes in the wall, and they would crawl out of there. So like if you looked up at the walls, they'd be covered in ants. There'd be this big line of ants, and so the couch I slept on, half of it would be covered in ants. And I guess it's just they would congregate on these spaces because of spills and shit we never cleaned up.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like this is a house where if you spill a drink, you're not really getting a towel or a lot of moisture in that house.
We had an oven, but we couldn't use it because the ants would get in there immediately if we tried to put anything in there. We also had like rodents crawl into they would just hang out in the oven too, and you turn it on and they'd like their little feet would melt to the oven. You know?
Is that true?
Yeah. Their feet would melt to the little things. I remember my mom opened preheated, and she opened it, and there was a mouse or a rat or something, and its little feet were stuck to were burnt to the oven, and she started screaming. My dad comes by with a spatula, scoops it up, and then smashes it up against the wall.
How long was it on the wall for?
I think they cleaned that one up.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that happened. So that happened in that house, and it happened to the house we lived in when I was a kid too. So that happened in two different places where rodents got cooked.
All right, you cool if we do a short episode today?
Yeah.
All right, I don't really have juice. My bad.
Yeah, it's
This was
okay.
good. We got some good stories. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks.